disguised as servants of righteousness, I think he says, when they're in fact servants of the devil. You read 2 Corinthians, you'll get it there. In any case, he then says in Galatians, tell those who are disturbing you, I wish they would themselves cut off. He means by that a kind of ribald joke. I wish they would their own privy parts cut off. So as the Romans saw circumcision, I'm not for or against circumcision. You do what you want on that score. Ladies, you know, I'm not trying to give any preference or not. It's just an ideological thing. The Romans saw circumcision as a kind of when you what's the word? Mutilation, and also when you turn someone into a eunuch, what's it called? Castration. Mutilation, castration. A variation of those things. Tell those who are troubling you, I wish they would themselves cut off. But he's already talking about those zealous to exclude in chapter 4. And he means, I wish they would their own, if you want me to be crude, if you don't mind, goonies cut off, okay? He can be tough and nasty when he wants to be, as you know. I don't think there's much brotherly love there lost between him and these others. And he's obviously really worked up about those things. But you see, here's the cutoff here. And we're going to get the cutoff quite often here in the Damascus doctrine. And it means God cutting people off because they don't do his commandments. I think Paul knows that. I think he's playing on this word cut off, just like that other word that I mentioned earlier that I think is being played on. I forgot what it was, but one of them was visit, but there was one other one too. And now we get it. And Abraham did not walk in these things, the bad things, and he was made a friend of God. Oh, wow. Where do we hear about Abraham as friend of God? You don't know? Who doesn't know? James 2. And Abraham was a friend of God because he kept the commandments. James 2. All arguing with the... See, that's what I mean about the parallels. How many parallels do you need before you start putting these things in the same context? You want to put it in the context of the Maccabean uprising with unknowns? Fine, that's fair. But also, you can, you've got so many parallels here, if you're prepared to look at them, that you know, it starts to get embarrassing. So here, we're just talking about this. Wherever line 10, it's too much here. Line 8, keep the royal law according to Scripture. We're going to have this in the Damascus document. To love your neighbor as yourself. But if you show partiality towards persons, you work sin, and you're found guilty of the law as lawbreakers or breakers. Whoever shall keep the law would stumble on one small point is guilty of it all. Jesus in the Gospels. How does he put it? Not one jot or tittle shall disappear from the law until all these things are accomplished. You say, how come there's that in there? Because the Gospels swing back and forth. Sometimes there's some bits of Jamesianism in there. For instance, the man who planted the tares among the wheat and will be gathered up and thrown into a kingdom of fire. An enemy came and planted tares among the seed. That's clearly an anti-Pauline parable, somehow stuck in there. I don't know. Any case, if you stumble on one small point, he's guilty of it all. Do not commit fornication or adultery, etc., etc., etc. For judgment will be without mercy for him who do not mercy, and mercy rejoices in judgment. And look, if someone says he has faith but does not have works, can faith save him? Even so, if he does not have works, faith is dead by itself, line 17. But I say, someone says, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I will show you my faith with my works. Do you believe that God is one? Oh, even the demons believe this and tremble. But will you know, oh, foolish man, or literally empty man, empty-headed man, empty one. If you look at the Greek, it's empty man. that faith apart from works is dead. Was not our father Abraham declared just by works, righteous by works, but he offered his son Isaac on the altar? Not a good example, I don't think. Didn't really offer him, but anyway, this guy's not as good an arguer as Paul. You see, faith was working with his works, and faith was made complete by his works, and the scripture was fulfilled, which says, and Abraham believed on God, and it was counted for him as righteousness. That's the basis of another basis of Pauline faith. That Abraham believed, and it was counted for him as righteousness, or reckoned for him as righteousness. That, and the righteous shall live by his faith, Paul puts together to get salvation by faith. But here in James, he has the same passage, but it precedes the next one, and he was called friend of God. You see then that a man is declared righteous by works, not by faith alone. And in the same way, I don't think this is a good example either, but I don't think this man is as good a rhetorician as Paul was. It's not Rahab the harlot declared just by works when she is taken, but it's got some good feminism there. When she had taken in the messengers and sent them in another way, for just as the body apart from the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead. Well, that is the famous James passage, if you've never read it, where Abraham is called friend of God. And here it is here. And Abraham did not walk in them, and he was made a friend of God because he kept the commandments of God. And he did not choose the will of his own spirit. And he transmitted them to Isaac and Jacob. And this is the whole history here. And they kept them, and were inscribed as friends of God, and heirs to the covenant. Remember, we had the thing, we are heirs to the promise in Galatians. Heirs to the covenant forever. The sons of Jacob strayed with them and were punished according to their errors. So now we're going to run down through the 1,000 years of history in another few lines again. I would want to call your attention to the fact that Islam too is based on Abraham's faith, just like Christianity in Paul's presentation in Galatians and Romans is based on Abraham's faith. What is our faith? Our faith is the faith of Abraham. What is Islam? It's the faith of Abraham, because Muhammad thinks that Abraham came before Moses and Christ. And therefore, he wasn't saved by the law, or as Christians are saved. And therefore, it's just that Abraham is not a Christian. He's a Muslim. He's the first Muslim. It's in the book, chapter of the cow, Surah 2, because he surrendered. And Abraham surrendered, and he was called a Muslim, one who has surrendered. Muslim means, based on the letters SLM, peace, one who surrenders. Close that window there, that'd be kind of you, right by you, because